Welcome back to another episode of Super Bytes with Suhani Singhal. One concept which I really want to highlight in this series is the importance of having role models and mentors in your community, especially for girls interested in computer science. Role models and mentors can teach us so many things about how they're able to pursue their career, what obstacles they faced, and what it takes to be in computer science, as well as all of the advice which they'd like to give us. That's why I'm here today at the LinkedIn office in Mountain View to interview the 4 founding members of Girls Teaching Girls to Code. The 4 founding members of Girls Teaching Girls to Code are Heidi Wang, Jessie Duan, Emily Tang, and Ambika Acharya. All 4 of them pursued computer science at Stanford, and during that time went on to found Girls Teaching Girls to Code, a nonprofit organization that helps connect girls pursuing computer science and engineering with high school girls through mentorship and applied projects. Today I'm here to learn about their projects and their mission, as well as what got them to where they are today to be successful in computer science. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I'm really excited to learn all about your personal journeys and also how they intertwine and connect with each other as well.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So maybe you could just start off by each introducing yourselves and talking a little bit about your journey in computer science, whether that's how you got interested or what your career is currently and where you went to school.
Sure, I can start. So I'm Heidi. The CS journey is a long one. When I first went to college, I thought I wanted to be an art major. I was really always super interested in design and psychology and a lot of different things like that. And then when I was in school, I discovered this human-computer interaction lab at my college and got really involved in that and sort of stumbled my way into computer science from there. Eventually ended up majoring in computer science and went on and worked as a software engineer for a little bit, and then realized I was kind of like missing my artistic roots a little and wanted to do something where I could try a lot of different disciplines, and so I ended up finding product management, and Emily could probably talk a little bit about that too. And so now I'm a product manager at LinkedIn. I get to wear an engineering hat sometimes, and then the next hour it'll be data science and design and marketing and business analytics. So it's super fun.
Well, I'm Emily. I think I have a similar background to Heidi. So right now I'm also a product manager at LinkedIn, but how I got into CS, I went to college thinking I would actually study neuroscience and go to med school or get a PhD, I don't know, very academic. And then my first summer I spent in a research lab doing psych research, and I actually realized the whole time I was coding, and just the power of CS became really clear to me, which is why I decided to do a double major in computer science and psychology at school. And so I was always very interdisciplinary in that I was really interested in human behavior, how users were using products, and so I did a couple of software engineering internships and also ended up in product management, like Heidi. And yeah, I think that's pretty
cool. Hi, I'm Jessie. I'm currently an engineering manager at Quora, and how I got into computer science, for me it started in college. I took an introductory computer science class and just really loved the ability to create from it. I think for me what's really drawn me to computer science is the opportunity to use it in a whole swath of different fields and to just solve problems in general. So decided to major in applied math, and as well as get a degree in computer science, and then became a software engineer at Quora, and recently became an engineering manager.
Hi, I'm Ambika, and similar to everyone else on the panel, I also kind of stumbled into computer science by way of, I guess I was interested in studying biology or bioengineering when I got to college, and then when I took a computer science class where we used machine learning to understand biology, so computational biology, I really felt that it was a really cool application, and I was also wowed by the power of computer science to affect so many different fields. So I think that's why I eventually went to study computer science, and I'm currently a machine learning engineer at Apple.
Wow, it's amazing how all of your journeys are so different and how you're able to intertwine what all of your different passions are with what you do today, whether it's art or science or engineering. So that's really nice to see. So could one of you guys explain what Girls Teaching Girls to Code is, what the organization does?
So Girls Teaching Girls to Code was initially started at Stanford, and the main event that we host every year is this big code camp where we have 250 high school girls come on campus, and we have around 50 plus college mentors, women mentors, to teach them different specializations in CS and show them that, you know, computer science can be so much more than just like sitting at a computer by yourself. Like, you can apply it to biology, you can apply it, like do machine learning, all sorts of things. And so our goal with that is really just to inspire and show them that there are a lot of things that you can do in CS. And so this was started at Stanford, and now we are working to expand it across the nation. Someone want to talk more about it?
Yeah, so we started at Stanford back in 2013, and we had a ton of demand, saw a lot of students, both high school students and college students, interested. After seeing so much demand in Silicon Valley, we thought it was worth bringing this across the nation. And so in the past year, we've started expanding to other universities across the country, such that college students at other universities can launch chapters for local high schoolers.
Oh, that's great. And our audience is predominantly in middle and high school. So I want to start by talking a little bit about your journey in high school and what your interests were then. And kind of, did you have any experiences with computer science when you were in high school, or was it mostly in college when you started getting access to that?
So I took my first computer science class in high school. And to be honest, I did not enjoy it at all. So the setup of this class is there was a teacher who just sat in the front of the classroom, and he typed on a projector, and we watched him type. And that was our class. So we didn't get to write code, we didn't get to build or do the things that I think are pretty fun in computer science.
Mm-hmm.
I think a second piece of it was that there were 2 girls in the class, in the entire class, and I also found that there was a group of people in the class who would come in every day, and they'd talk about how they stayed up till 4 a.m. hacking the school firewall, and I feel like I'm asleep at 4 a.m.
Right.
And even if I weren't, I wouldn't even know how to hack or do any of the stuff that they knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't feel the fun of computer science then, and I also just felt like I wasn't good enough, and I wasn't going to fit in at all.
Wow, I think your story is really touching, and I think that a lot of girls are still currently in that situation. I know that it's definitely gotten better since then, but I think that there's still a lot of improvement that needs to be done. And even in a lot of like the coding camps or classes, still I feel girls are a minority. So maybe could you talk a little bit about how you're kind of able to overcome that, and what advice you'd give to girls who are currently in that situation?
Yeah, definitely. So to be honest, after that class, I was not looking to study more computer science. I actually didn't even mean to take a class in college, but I needed to fulfill an engineering requirement. Figured I would just take this intro class that fit my schedule, and I actually ended up really enjoying it. In this intro class, we got to work on projects. It was really exciting. I think the whole time, I definitely very much felt like I wasn't good enough, like I didn't know what I was doing in that class. And so that theme continued, but I think maybe a key difference is that I had an instructor who was really encouraging. So I went to the professor of the class midway through, and I was just like, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I know what I'm doing. And so I don't think I should study computer science. And he was the one who told me, hey, you're actually doing really well. You just don't realize it. And so if you just keep working hard, you're going to end up feeling a lot more comfortable with the material. And so after that, I ended up taking a couple more computer science classes and finally majored in it, and here we are.
Well, I think that really shows also the power of having a really important female or even male role model or mentor. It's just super important to have someone who kind of brings you up and shows you that you can do it. So does anyone else have a mentor who they'd like to share or talk about, and a piece of advice which they gave them, which they still use to this day?
I can share one. So I guess I should back up and tell a little bit of the story leading up to this. So I grew up in Silicon Valley. My mom is actually a software engineer. She worked at Sun Microsystems for a really long time. I went to a school where there were computer science, high school, where there were computer science classes available, lots of APCS classes, and I still never, I would just like avoided it, and I completely had no interest in computer science. I didn't want to go anywhere near it, and I think a lot of it is sort of some of the themes that you hear in a lot of these stories where you just have this picture in your head of what computer science is, and you just don't identify with that. And so, yeah, I had like all the structures in place that I needed to get into computer science and discover it really early, and I still didn't find it until college. And the mentor that really changed things for me was one of my college professors. So I went to an all-women's college at Wellesley over on the East Coast, and she really encouraged, so she saw that I was really passionate about design and psych and economics and a lot of other things, and she actually really was the one who helped me see that computer science can morph into anything else that you're interested in too, and really like be applied in lots of different ways. And so she was really the one who opened my eyes and changed it from like that black screen with the neon green text scrolling by to like this whole rich world of like creativity and humans and lots of other interesting things.
Wow, that's really cool, and I think it's really important to have someone like that who kind of is a mentor and a role model as well.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to girls who currently feel like they don't have a role model or a mentor, and how do you think that they could find one?
I mean, I think advice that I would give to students who feel like they're kind of alone in computer science is that there's so many like online resources these days that you can find a community there if you take a course online or Code Academy. There's so many websites where there's a lot of information and resources, and going there and maybe introducing your friends to it and seeing if you guys can work together on a project. I think that was a way that I actually got way more into computer science, is that seeing it's a really collaborative field. And even today, and at work, I work with people every day. I don't just sit at a computer by myself all day and code. And so I think it's important to see if your friends are excited about it, try to get them involved, and if you do that, you might start a community and feel less alone.
Oh, that's really good advice. I think a lot of girls are going to take that to heart, and hopefully it'll help them as well.
I think also just one thing to add in, basically I think like our organization, we really believe that mentorship piece is really important, because if you see someone who you can really relate to and who feels like someone that you could eventually be, that's really what changes it for a lot of girls in diving into computer science and engineering and pursuing that path. And so what we do is we host a lot of events with college students teaching high school students. So they're just like, one step ahead of you in life. And so yeah, if you just go and find, there's a lot of events, not just our own org, but a lot of other orgs like Girls Who Code and Black Girls Code, lots of, I think the list goes on, but there are lots of events. Just like do a quick search on your local, for your local area, and you'll find coding events where you can actually meet other mentors who are sometimes just a few years ahead of you, and sometimes even more than that. So like industry mentors, like we all have served on panels, and that's how we met you. And so yeah, those events are a really good spot too.
Right, so I think you mentioned Girls Teaching Girls to Code, which is a really good organization. I think it's really unique as well because, like you said, you get to talk to college students and kind of see where you could be one day, which is really empowering. So could someone talk a little bit about how you decided to start this organization, where the inspiration came from?
Yeah, so like I said, I went to an all-women's college, and I was taking a lot of these really advanced computer science classes, and it was all females working together on problem sets and doing all the late night college type stuff. And then after I graduated college, I got a software engineering internship out here in San Francisco, and it was at a small startup, and I was the only technical female in the entire company. And so that contrast is pretty drastic, going from a classroom full of all females to a startup where I was the only engineer who was a woman, and I was only the intern, right? Mm-hmm. And so that really kind of clicked something in my head, like, why aren't there more people who are here, and why am I here and not other people? And I realized that a lot of it was like just seeing other people that you can relate to, and seeing people that inspire you, and you feel like, again, just that relatability aspect. And then I just kind of reflected back on my own time and realized I would have probably pursued it in high school and earlier if I had those structures in place. So then I went and kind of harassed some of these girls and was like, hey, you guys want to start up this thing? So we put together a quick little pitch and got some seed money from a company called Good. And they gave us a little bit of money to start up our idea. And that quickly became like not enough because our ideas were so big, and we ended up realizing we should just go to these local tech companies who would be interested in supporting the cause, and that helped us keep it running year after year, and now it's been 7 or 8 years. So.
Wow, that's a great story. I think it's really important because it really is impacting girls and really is helping girls.
Oh, thanks. We love hearing stories like that.
So I think a lot of girls want to know, do you think after college, when you're going to the workforce, do you feel prepared, or do you feel like you need to take other courses and learn new materials in order to be successful?
Yeah. So I would say that the classes I took in college, especially the school projects, as Ambika mentioned before, working in the real world is very collaborative, and so collaborating on a small school project, whether it's in a team of 5, that experience is really, really valuable when you're in the workplace because everything is about collaboration. Mm-hmm. So whether it's launching a product, you're working with a team of 10 engineers, it's a similar experience in terms of, making sure everyone's on track, discussing like what we want to build, all of those things come together. So I think I would say that school has prepared me in the sense of learning how to collaborate well, learning how to meet deadlines, and just general, how do we launch something within the school frame, and then in the real world it's like, how do we launch something within like the timeline that's set. And then I would say you're not expected to know everything when you enter like a company. There are a lot of things in place where they teach you on the go, where you can learn as you're on the job. So I think that's the beauty of working, is just being able to learn every day a new thing. And I mean, so right now I know nothing about business, but I'm picking things up just from my coworkers, my manager. And so I think if you have a great manager, like, they will help you learn the things you need to know in order to succeed.
It's really nice to know that you're always learning and you don't have to know everything as soon as you're going into the job.
Oh yes, that would be very boring.
So in addition to kind of what we talked about transitioning to the workforce, what kind of obstacles did you guys see that you were facing, whether it's with having to learn new things or being in a male-dominated field?
Yeah, I would say for me that my biggest obstacle was probably myself. I have a lot of imposter syndrome, which is basically when you think you're not doing well or you're not good enough, when in actuality you very much have the skills and aren't good enough. Mm-hmm. And so when I first started as a software engineer, I remember I would get tasks to do, and I would just feel like I have no idea what to do. And it turns out that's natural, right? Like, that's the whole, as Emily was saying, that's the whole point of work. You learn how to do these things over time. But I very much felt like I was letting my team down. I was not qualified to be there, especially because I saw other people, and they were producing and shipping and making commits and launching features. And I felt like it was just so difficult for me to do that. And so one thing I want to call out is that we talk about imposter syndrome a lot as women, but it actually affects a lot of people. today I would say, half of my team, male or female, has some form of imposter syndrome. But in those early days, I remember, I just remember even 3 months into the job, still feeling like I wasn't good enough and didn't belong. I think what finally helped was when I finally got my first performance review. Finally started hearing from other people that, hey, I was actually doing well, that they enjoyed working with me, that I was ramping up quickly, and since then I think this imposter syndrome has still been a battle as I've just taken on more challenges, but I think I'm learning to just acknowledge that, hey, it's probably imposter syndrome and move on. And then I would say one benefit of it is that I think it's driven me to work really hard. And because I'm working harder than other people, a lot of times I'm learning and growing faster than other people. So I think that's the upside.
So also I think everyone kind of wants to know what you do on a daily basis. So maybe you could just restate what your job is, what your title is, and kind of what your role is in the company that you work at.
So I'm a product manager at LinkedIn, and I've been working here for just over 5 years now. I've grown my entire product career here, and just in the last year I've started to manage other product managers, so the people management aspect is new to me. I'm still learning a lot about it. So my day-to-day involves a lot of kind of like strategic meetings with a lot of our partner teams. So I sort of serve as a liaison between my team and a lot of the other adjacent teams, and we make sure that our strategies are aligned so that the product managers on our team can actually collaborate more easily together. And then there's also a lot of the people aspects, so just making sure that my reports are feeling really productive and unblocked and happy and enjoying what they're working on. They're feeling challenged. And then just running like leads meetings, so that's not just the product managers, but also the engineering leads, the data science leads, the design leads, and bringing that leadership team together so that we can have a really functional, happy team.
Like Heidi, I am also a product manager at LinkedIn, but pretty new in my career, about 1.5 years in. And so I think on a daily basis, the role I'm in right now is it's on an enterprise business, so it's pretty cross-functional. I have to work with sales reps, customer success managers, biz ops, like all these different functions. And I think really what I'm trying to do is to solve this one problem together. So the problem we have is, so I'm working on LinkedIn Learning, and one problem we're working on is right now when a company purchases LinkedIn Learning for their employees, maybe around like 20% will activate their license. And so it's a growth problem where we're trying to make sure everyone gets access to learning and gets in the product. And so I think it's really around setting up meetings, trying to figure out what the right strategy is to tackle this problem with all these people who are working towards the same goal. So, yeah.
I'm an engineering manager on the core product team at Quora. So my team is responsible for essentially the fundamental dynamics and mechanics of how Quora operates. So as an engineering manager, my primary goal is to make sure that my engineering team is successful. And that has a few components. So one component is setting the vision for the team and laying out where we want to be end of this quarter, a year from now, and into the future. A second piece is looking at our day-to-day execution, making sure people are working on the right things that will take our team further. And then third is helping the individuals on my team grow. So helping the engineers figure out where do they themselves want to be in a quarter or in a year or 5 years, and then what can we do as an organization to help them get there.
So I'm a machine learning engineer at Apple, and I specifically work on Siri. And so the majority of my day is coding. So I'll either be at my desk working on a new feature or something that we're trying to develop, but I'll also have meetings with other engineers and product managers to figure out what the kind of scope of our project looks like, and do architecture reviews where we go in and say, how are we going to build this at a high level, and what are kind of subtasks involved in getting there. And yeah, so that's the majority of my day, are those kinds of small meetings, but a lot of it is also just free time for me to work on the projects we're trying to get at.
It's really cool to see how there's so many different fields within computer science, whether it's like product manager or engineering director, or even like working in machine learning. I think like that's something which a lot of people don't know. They think just computer science is one thing, but there's so many things that you can do within that, which is really cool to see that aspect of it. So what do you guys think is the biggest challenge which women are facing today in technology and in computer science, and how do you think that we can help solve that problem?
This is kind of similar to like when we were talking earlier about what obstacles do we face at work. So an obstacle that I face is trying to find a leadership style that feels authentic to me. I think like if I look at a lot of the upper management people across the industry, it's hard to find women leaders. I mean, it's getting easier obviously over time, but there's definitely more male leaders and male examples than women. And so for me, I'm trying to work on how to be a really strong leader and figure out what my own style is. And I emulate a lot of different leaders that I've encountered in my life, and some of them feel a little bit more authentic to me than others. Like I've tried to be, the leader that like kind of like pounds the fist on the table. I've tried a lot of other things, and it's just kind of like a process of trying to figure out what feels right for me and what feels authentic. And so for me, a big part of that is looking at other women leaders who are ahead of me in their careers and seeing kind of like what worked for them and what they liked and tried. So I think if you zoom that out industry-wide, the more females we can get into leadership positions, the more examples there are for the next generation of people as they're growing into those leadership positions. So it's kind of like a chicken and the egg problem, but if we can just get more females into those roles, then I think more of the next generation females will be interested to join and be inspired to join. So that's kind of like our whole MO, is like trying to just get more females into the industry.
I think Girls Teaching Girls to Code is definitely helping with that as well.
I hope so. There's been a couple hundred people, I think, or maybe at 1,000 now. So.
Okay, so now we're gonna play a quick game called Bowl of Bytes. So I have a bowl of questions, just to get to know a little bit more about you. They're just fun questions.
Sounds fun. Hopefully there are no hard balls in here. Okay, so what is your favorite vacation destination, or which vacation destination would you like to go to? That's a good one. So I was, prior to having kids, I was very, very into traveling. And I would say probably one of my favorite places to go is Myanmar. It's in Southeast Asia. It's just beautiful. I feel like it's not been overtaken by tourists too much, and there are just like temples as far as the eye can see, and we would wake up at 4 a.m. every day to watch the sunrise over the temples, and it was just like a very like relaxing kind of out-of-body experience. So I really liked going to Myanmar. And then next vacation destination, I've never been to Greece. That's like probably top of the list for me, because I just see all those pictures online, and man, that looks like incredible, and just like that classic white buildings over the ocean thing. I would love to go there.
Okay, my question is, if you had access to a time machine, where and when would you go? So where I would go to Taiwan. That's where I'm originally from. And when would I go? I'd probably go sometime my grandparents were there, so maybe like 1950 or something like that. Because I'm just really curious And also context, I was recently in Taiwan and I got back last week, so and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents when I was there, so I think it would be really fun just to see like what their lives were like and understand a bit of my own history and background.
That would be so cool. That's a great answer.
What is your favorite ice cream flavor? So every time I get ice cream, I get a different flavor. Okay. It's actually kind of hard to have a favorite because I'm very much optimized for exploring. But I would say go-to is probably good, like cookies and cream type deal, very classic. You can even make it on your own if all you have is vanilla ice cream. It's a good choice.
Nice.
Name one thing on your bucket list. Ooh. This is a tough question. I think one thing I'd really like to do is live abroad at some point in my life. I got to study abroad in college, and that was really fun. But I think it'd be really cool to like live in a different country for a while and be immersed in that culture.
Oh, nice to see like different cultures for sure.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for playing our game.
This was fun.
Okay, so finally, to end off this interview, I would like to ask you what your biggest piece of advice would be to middle and high school girls who are interested in pursuing a career in computer science.
My biggest piece of advice to anyone out there who's thinking about computer science or thinking about getting into a technical field is just don't say no to any opportunity that comes to you. You'll get the chance to try a lot of new things. People will ask you to maybe join a club or work on a project together, and even if you don't feel comfortable about it, you should definitely take the opportunity and go for it.
My best advice is just believe in yourself. It's going to be hard. Learning any new skill is hard, but the benefit is that afterwards you have a new skill. And so keep persevering even when it gets hard, and you'll do great things.
My biggest piece of advice would be to don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone, whether it's asking a stupid question or asking more questions, whether it's reaching out to someone you might not other have to ask them how they're doing or what their career path is like, and even seeking out opportunities like attending a Girls Teaching Girls to Code event. Just put yourself out there.
My advice is to build relationships. So the old adage is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so you really never know how your friendships and mentor relationships are going to help you out in the future. So just really foster those relationships and learn from each other and help each other out.
Wow, thank you so much for all of your pieces of advice and for sitting down with me today. I think a lot of girls are going to really enjoy all of your wisdom and all of your advice and are really going to take it to heart and hopefully gain some inspiration as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.